First of all, I hope you folks have a wonderful, wonderful Easter and have a wonderful celebration and family time. It is a beautiful time. And on Sunday, but the whole week, the whole weekend, just have a great time. It's fabulous to watch all the people go to church. It's fabulous to watch how people all dress up real nice. Do you do that, Mr. Badu? Do you ever dress up real nice? It's really nice. You know, folks, with all that's going on in the world, all the threats that we're receiving in this country from abroad, so much that goes on in life, the entire media focused on this guy, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, it's really a sin. It's really disgusting. I'm watching TV, Mr. Producer. The first 10 minutes, this is what it's about. The guy's a thug. The guy's a wife beater. The guy's been dancing around MS-13 with a verified number. The guy's here illegally. He's come here illegally on multiple times. Do we really have to prove he's committed the crime of the century to deport him? Of course not. That's not what immigration's about, and that's not what deportation's about. And the president can make the decision. He doesn't need any help from any federal judges. Somebody needs to look into that. Private citizens, and yes, that includes a senator, not supposed to be running foreign policy. Our friends at the Daily Caller have a good piece. Abrego Garcia's released documents here demonstrating his membership in MS-13 gang. Now, the media won't even look. They won't even look for this stuff. His wife's complaint against him for assault and battery, that was public. That was in the court system in the state of Maryland. It was Fox. It was Bill Malugin who got it. The rest of the media, not only don't they get it, they don't care. During his police interview, immigration court rulings, Department of Homeland Security, deportable, inadmissible alien record highlighting his membership in the gang. Got that? Which is disputed in court or included in the release. Now, you're listening to the same media that lied about Joe Biden's competency, the same Democrats who lied about Joe Biden's competency. So they will lie about anything and everything, folks, to you. They have no respect for you. None. So people say, where's the proof? Okay, the proof is in the immigration court rulings at the Department of Homeland Security. In his deportable/inadmissible alien record, highlighting his membership in the MS-13 gang, which he disputed in court, but he could dispute it all he wants. In a December 2019 decision, the Board of Immigration Appeals dismissed Garcia's challenge to an immigration judge's factual finding that he's a verified member of MS-13. So it's been adjudicated. The Immigration Court of Appeals rejected his defense. The board found the immigration judge appropriately considered allegations of gang affiliation against the respondent in determining that he has not demonstrated that he's not a danger to property or persons. The double negative is not mine, it's the court, and I'm quoting it. Officers found that Garcia's loitering in a Home Depot parking lot on March 28, 2019, wearing, quote, a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering his eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents on the separate denominations. The initial Prince George's County Police Department gang field interview sheet states, wearing the Chicago Bulls hat, quote, represents that they are a member in good standing with the MS-13, the document states. I mean, he is in a parking lot in Maryland. Officers contacted a past proven and reliable source of information who advised that Garcia is an active member of MS-13 and the Westerns clique. The confidential source further advised, this is out of the court records, that he is the rank of Chiquillo, the moniker of Chile. The administration became embroiled in a legal dispute after Garcia, who entered the country illegally in 2011, was deported in March to El Salvador as a result of an error. In court records, they argued that Garcia could not relitigate the findings that he is a danger to the community. A lower court ordered his return, but the Supreme Court required it to clarify the order and direct the administration to facilitate his release. Facilitate. The Department of Justice indicated that it would appeal the amended order, which directed the government to take all available steps to facilitate the return. That panel ordered that the Department of Justice do that and upheld the lower court, just so you know. So, what really is the issue here? Let's use common sense. Let's get out of the weeds. Let's use common sense. The guy's a bad guy. He's a violent guy. He's tatted up with all this MS-13 stuff. We do have actually an adjudication in an immigration court and the Board of Appeals of the Immigration Court that concludes that despite his claims that he was in fact part of MS-13, I have in front of me the form that was filled out by hand by his wife about his domestic violence, that he beat her, that he scratched her eyes, that he used a boot, and so forth and so on. It's right there for anybody to read. And here's the thing. You don't even have to be a quote-unquote good person. You're deportable because you're here illegally. The amount of information they have on this man far exceeds any standard, any barometer that's required to deport somebody who's here illegally. Period. That's the bottom line. Now, the Supreme Court's mush language, its ambiguity to facilitate his return, nobody knows what that means. Nobody. It's a bureaucratic word that people use in the bureaucracy when they don't want to actually facilitate anything. But they say, be careful that you don't cross into separation of powers and interfere with the president's foreign policy powers, which are exclusive. So they say one thing out of one side of their mouth and one thing out of the other. And if this is the way the Supreme Court's going to mumble, if this is how they're going to dance, we're going to have definitely a constitutional crisis. Not because of what the Democrats say, but because of the Democrats and their judges. So anybody tells you he doesn't have an affiliation with MS-13 is lying, because we have a lower immigration court and the Board of Immigration Appeals that say they believe he did, despite his protestations. And anybody says he's a good father, maybe he is, but he was a lousy husband because he beat his wife more than once, according to her own written statement in her own hand. This is the person the Democrats are fighting for, Van Hollen is fighting for, the media are fighting for. You understand? They do not share our sense of values. They do not share our belief system. They are liars. They are propagandists. They are demagogues. This guy Garcia should not return. And so I have a fundamental question. I'll ask it rhetorically before we take our break. If a federal district court, that is the lowest court, the trial court, the litigation court, has absolutely no authority to set policy when it comes to this, or anything else for that matter, but let's focus on this, and that the framers of the Constitution said they never wanted judges to set policy. And I hope you'll watch my programs this week on Life, Liberty, and Levin. I'm going to dig into this like nobody ever has. That'll be the Sunday show. Is a president required to follow an order of a court when that court is violating separation of powers? But the Supreme Court said, I don't care what the Supreme Court said. I'm talking about the Constitution. Does he? Now, as a practical matter, of course, you'll see the Republicans will buckle. The Democrats will become howling hyenas, louder than they normally are. The media will tell us about Watergate, and they'll write leaks and all the rest of it. So the ruling class, the establishment, will do everything they can to destroy Trump over this, and they'll say he's the one violating the Constitution. But you'll notice when they talk about court orders, when it came to Joe Biden, who they said had his wits when he didn't have his wits, again, they will lie and lie and lie. You'll notice when he ignored the Supreme Court and its opinion on student loans that he didn't have the power to provide any kind of financial forgiveness, he did it anyway. He circumvented them. He went around them. He came up with a pathetic excuse. Nobody called for his head. Nobody. Nobody said we were in a constitutional crisis. Well, I did, but nobody on that side. And so he got away with it. No big deal. We have a federal judge by the name of Boasberg in Washington, D.C., who literally ordered the administration to turn planes around in midair, bring back over 300 Venezuelan gang members / terrorists sent here, likely by the communist governor of Venezuela. He didn't put it in writing as a technical point, which is preposterous, especially when you're talking about going from a lawyer in a courtroom to a vast bureaucracy to airplanes. The court said, and I have it in front of me, the Supreme Court said in a relatively short opinion that he has no jurisdiction, none. Boasberg has no jurisdiction over this case. And yet Boasberg won't let it go. See, the case is supposed to be in Texas, as I recall. Boasberg will not let it go. Does anybody talk about how he is violating the Constitution? No, not a word. Except me. Not a word. So we have that federal judge violating the Constitution. We have the other federal judge violating the Constitution, and a third judge in Boston. Indira, whatever her last name is. It's not Gandhi, I can assure you that. But it's Indira something or other. She puts out a national, I guess it was a temporary injunction, from Boston, preventing the Trump administration from returning 530,000 some people back to where they came from because he used an executive order, even though Biden used an executive order to bring them here, behind our backs initially, you might recall, under cover of dark. And he bastardized the parole provision of our immigration laws to do it. Trump says, you know what, I'm reversing it. It's an executive order. I'm reversing it with an executive order. And then the judge said, wait a minute. Due process. See the game? Due process. I told you this is Cloward and Piven. They've overwhelmed the system. The judges are working hand in glove, even if they're not speaking to each other, which they're free to do, and I'm sure many of them are. They see what's going on. And on top of these outrageous rulings now, these judges are placing penalties on lawyers and others in the government, in the Trump administration, who are fighting to uphold immigration law and the Constitution, separation of powers. Now they're going to hold people in contempt. Now they're going to have lawyers deposed. See my point? And this guy, this thug, Garcia. Next thing you know, at the next Democrat convention, they'll somehow bring him here and he'll have a speaking role.